Alright, so I'm working on the Sharp Twin, and it's really not going so well. I thought I was going to have a couple options here as well, but my first thought was to do what we were doing and try to get it. This is the back side over here where all the output connectors are at. And I thought, yeah, it'll fit underneath that board. Maybe. If there's some of these have these boards bolted to the back of your power board, and this sat down pretty close to the bottom of the shell, but I was like, we can fix that, you know, just put a spacer right there and it'll lift up. It doesn't, I mean, there's nothing there, you know, I mean, it's just a couple wire looms connected with a couple chips. Sometimes those chips are on this board and this board doesn't even exist, but that's all irrelevant now, because then I started putting the board down in here, the Hi-Def NES board. And first I thought, oh yeah, I can fit it in here because the board has this notch right here. So I cut out some of the ribbing on this post and this post. Got to sit down there, I was like, oh yeah, and then I looked, I was like, nope. The ribbon cable is right up against that post. I mean, right up against it. And then over here, between these two posts, the board is just wide enough to where it will not fit flush against the back and fit between them, unless we cut some plastic off of this post or that post off of the side of it, which on mine, this post didn't even have a screw in it. There's no threads in it, so apparently Sharp never actually screwed down the power board to that post. So if we cut half of it off, it could fit down in there, I guess. But then our ribbon cables are going to have to be just insanely long, because I do have the interposers fit on the main board here. And I also thought about putting it on this shelf right here, and then having the HDMI connector come out the back. That would be okay, except we got some metal here, and then there's a like a cover with little plastic tabs sticking up here, here, and they would have to be cut flush, and then of course then it's not going to be held up. So I'm not really in love with that idea either, and the last thing I can even think of is to go ahead and use an HDMI extension cord. You know, we've been talking about these in various places, but you know, we'll have an HDMI cord plug in here, and then we'll have a panel mount female connector. And this is really the best place, is this cubby hole here and off the back, and then the main board could just sit down in here just anywhere, you know, and we could put it up against a couple plastic posts somewhere and screw it down, and it would be fine. And we could even lay it what instinctively seems like the incorrect way, but our ribbon cable connectors would be pointed the right way as far as the interposers. Now the interposers, I thought this was going to be a problem too. They just fit in there, and I mean just, you know, and I kind of knew it was going to be tight because the NSRGB, like I think I did one or two, and it was the PPU, which is this chip with the heatsink on it. It just barely fit in there with all the sockets and headers and the board and everything, but we're okay here. It's tight, but it'll fit, and the interposers sit side by side almost exactly like they do in the US top loader. They're touching. It's kind of tight, but it'll work. Only thing I've seen is this crystal right here is going to have to be moved to the bottom side of the board, and I think that's fine. We'll just desolder it and then solder it from the bottom, and I think that'll be okay because it's right in the way of that ribbon cable connector. But both connectors both ribbons are gonna have to come out this side and go underneath. So if the board's sitting there, you kind of want your ribbon cables to connect that way. If the board was turned around so the HDMI connector is pointed this way, it'll still work. We would just have to rotate the ribbon cables to get them in there, and I think that would be fine too, but whatever. Definitely, if we do it like this, we'll have to solder that jumper to make this one CPU. Usually this one is CPU, and vice versa with PPU. But that's where I'm sitting at with it now, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get this one done in time for Sunday's auctions, and that's fine. I definitely want to try to procure a couple of those extension cables with the panel mount, because I think for this console it'll be really good. I don't see making that work. This seems like it just seems like it's a lot more effort than it should be, and I really doubt that Kevin's going to want to redesign anything just to make it fit for a twin, which we're not, probably not going to do a ton of twins compared to top loader, Navy Famicom, and front loader. So that's all I got for the twin for now. Let me know what you think.